Hey everyone, Matt Hodgson back with you, and I want to address today some of the frequently asked questions we get about our compressed sodium chloride antimicrobial surface. So first, basically, it comes down to how do you use salt as an actual surface that you touch? Now, what happens with our product is it's compressed, so it's not regular table salt that people picture and it's just sprinkled on something. It actually forms a hard ceramic-like surface. This is just a small piece. It's quite smooth to the touch. It can be made any shape or size. You can actually change the color of it using just standard food-grade coloring agents. So it makes it quite versatile. Now, people often ask, how long does it last? Based on our current prototypes, it should last anywhere between 10 to 12 years. That's because it dissolves away very, very slowly. It's quite surprising what happens to salt when you change the properties through applying that amount of pressure. People also ask, what happens if it's, gets a bit wet or if there's a bit of moisture on it? And again, because the properties are transformed through the manufacturing process, it isn't just going to dissolve away. So for a reference point, the invention originally came from using animal salt blocks. So if you come from an agricultural background, you may be familiar with horse or cattle blocks. And I have just a small example here of some of these larger blocks. Now, often they're 50-pound blocks. This is just like a 2-pound block. And normally these are just tossed into a pasture, into a field, into a corral, and left for horses or cows just to slowly lick them over time. And that's how they get some nutrients as well. These are left out in the elements, the weather, sun, rain, cold, winter, blizzards, hail. They stand up quite well over time. It's very surprising what happens to the product that way. So some of the other questions we get is, can it be cleaned? And the answer is yes, just clean it like you would any other regular door handle. We actually put it through a number of tests to see how much it would wear down when put through rigorous cleaning cycles. We simply acquired a bunch of different hospital grade cleaners and did thousands of wipes on a piece similar to this. And the actual wear was less than a millimeter after thousands of wipes. So again, it's very robust. Some of the other questions we get, will it lose its efficacy over time if it becomes scratched or cleaned? And the short answer is no, it won't. So our surface differs from a lot of other antimicrobial surfaces and coatings because it's actually the whole surface. It's not just a coating. And when you scrape away one layer of salt or you clean away, rub away, whatever, one layer of salt, guess what's below it? It's more salt. So you don't have that effect of when you remove a layer that happens to be the antimicrobial agent, it's therefore not antimicrobial. That's not a problem when it comes to salt. Other questions we have, what happens if there's, a warm environment, if there's a lot of heat, maybe it's in the sun, maybe it's in a building where the temperature's higher than normal, perhaps in the summer. And to help answer this question as a point of reference, aluminum will actually melt before salt does. So that's not really a big concern. You're not going to have it melt away or get too warm. That's not really a concern. A big one that comes up is the corrosion element. So what we've done with our prototypes is make sure to insulate the salt from any other metal piece. So we see this on the push plate. There's a plastic backing that goes between the salt and any kind of aluminum or stainless steel piece, and that becomes the touch point. So the salt doesn't actually come in contact directly with metal because over time, yes, that will corrode. And just by providing a thin layer of plastic or other kind of adhesive or any other kind of medium in between those two pieces, that removes that concern. Of course, one of our favorite questions we get is, what happens if I take a hammer to it? Now, take a hammer to most things and they will break. Our surface is no different. I think what people really want to get at when they ask that question is, if I yank or pull on it or just, hit it, tap it, try to rip it, will it break? And again, the short answer is no, it won't. When it comes to our prototypes, the push plate has a plastic backing, and that's of course against a door or a hard surface, so there isn't any kind of weird torque or pull on it. And the same applies for some of our handle prototypes as well. You actually have the metal mechanism that is filling the inside area, so there isn't actually that risk of it just simply being ripped off or crumbling on itself. Another one is, what happens if salt comes off onto my hand? Is my hand going to get too salty? Am I at risk of having too much salt ingestion? And as a reference point, you probably have way more salt in the sweat on the palm of your hand than you do from salt coming off a piece of this. Even if you touch it and play with it all day long, as I do, I have pieces like this on my desk and I just rub them in my hands as a bit of a stress ball. Salt doesn't come off. We often also get asked, is there any kind of antimicrobial effect from salt that might come off of this and onto your hand? And the short answer is no, that's quite difficult to test. And again, the salt content of your sweat is probably higher than what this is in this piece. So another big one is this going to be okay in like a really, really wet, humid environment? So perhaps there's certain insides of manufacturing plants or food processing facilities where there might be really rigorous cleaning. And think about somebody taking a hose or a pressure washer to a wall, and then this is going to be exposed to that. And really, this wouldn't be the type of application where you should use compressed sodium chloride. If something's having that much rigorous cleaning, it isn't going to stand up well to a pressure washer every day or several times a day. So that just simply isn't a place for this surface. There are a lot of other places where this can have a lot of good. Being in, underwater, wet environment, that's not right for this surface. And that pretty much does it for our FAQs.